All right, what's up, League? Almost live here. So give me a quick second as I get us all set up. So I know y'all have been patiently waiting for the uh the newest Wolfcast. So again, I'm almost trying to get us set up, trying to make sure I'm muted over here on the other screens. All right, there we go. All right, what's going on, everybody? So it's week 13. We got a lot going on, a lot of games to be talked about. Of course, everybody wants to know how these playoffs and how these things are going to end. Unfortunately, like I said the other day, there's a couple of teams who are already bowl eligible, meaning toilet bowl eligible. And so we'll get to those guys. Those who are still big boy tournament, big bowl eligible, all that stuff, we'll get to y'all. And those will be the main games we talk about tonight. So, of course, everybody still gets talked about. Um, but you'll get a chance to you'll get a chance to see what we got going on. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I got my notebook, I got everything up on the screen. So all right. So looking at it, and what I'm going to do is first I'll go through who we have in terms of hang on. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to go through in terms of who all the seeds are as they currently state. I put on the league the other night. I put on the chat the other night that we have a couple of teams that are still in the mix. Many of those teams that are sitting at what is that, 5-7, 6-6. They really can't take any more losses. I will say the better team sitting at 6-6. He's probably the one that could afford a loss given the division that he's in. But at this time of year, nobody wants to be taking L's. Everybody wants to be collecting dubs. So the team that's sitting at the top of everything right now, playoff position has already been solidified. Our playoff spot's been solidified. We're just waiting on positioning. And the way I look at it, he's either going to be number one. I don't really see him falling down to number three. We got King of the Gridiron sitting at 10-2. He's going to win his division. He's going to have either that first or second seed, really depending on what happens with Wolf. I'll go ahead and talk about who King of the Gridiron is playing this week. He's playing Huckleberry. Huckleberry's sitting at 5-7. He's one of those teams that needs a few things to happen. Mainly, he needs the better team to lose, and he needs Knight to lose, and he also needs to win out. So getting the 6-7, getting those other two teams at 6-7 gets him in a good spot to, Dark Knight being at 6-7, better team being at 6-7. Then they're all in a tie. That just puts Huckleberry in a better spot, better chance to make the playoffs. Hopefully, getting that win in the last week where he's 7-7 and the other teams are not. So that's one scenario that we have going on. The number 2 seed, we got the Big Wolf, who is 9-3, needs one more win to truly solidify that division. If he gets the win number 10 this week, that'll also he's already in the playoffs. So Wolf, congratulations on another year in the playoffs. Can't remember the last time you weren't in it. You get the 10 wins. Look like Wolf can have another, I don't know how many consecutive 10-win seasons that could be for Wolf. He's playing the 3-9 Laugh now. Laugh now is out. 3 wins, not enough to get you into anything other than the toilet bowl. But also based on the videos that he sent or the pictures that he sent, looks like he's going to be in some chili bowls here too. Save your boy some. Next up, we got currently at the 3rd seed, who is 7-5 versus Swagner, who is 3-9. Another one of those teams that are out. Baker King pretty much has solidified a playoff spot at 7-5. He's sitting at the top of his division. I don't really see anybody challenging him for that divisional spot, given what his record was going in. Take a lot to really crumble, but I guess it's still worth talking about given who's in there. I think the Dogs is under him. So there's still some things that could twist and turn a little bit in there, but nonetheless, I don't foresee him getting out of that spot. And I think he'll win this week against Swagner. So that just kind of solidifies things for him. Next up, we got a little bit of a change from what happened last week. Last week, we had the Dark Knight, who was sitting in at 6-5. We had STL, who was 6-5 last week. And things happened where STL won. He's 7-5. Dark Knight took a loss. He's 6-6. So that put STL as a 4th seed, dropped Dark Knight all the way down to seed number 8. Seed number 5 is another one that's fairly locked in, unless something crazy happens with Wolf. And in that division, you'll have G-Men at 8-4, he could end this season at 10-4. And at the end of the day, he could end up with that. The highest he could go up would be the number 2 seed. Looks like he could be locked in at least the number 5 seed. So G-Men solidifying a playoff spot with the 8 wins already too. We got Rob, who's sitting at 7-5. He's going up against Warrior this week, who's 5-7. Warrior needs to win pretty much. That's what we got. And also, I forgot to talk about those other matchups with Baker King or with STL and G-Men. We'll get to those here shortly. We got Fire Dog sitting at 7-5. He's at your 7 seed. Fire Dogs need to continue to win. He's playing the better team, who's 6-6. That's going to be my game of the week because that matchup is going to really turn some things upside down in terms of the playoffs and really set up where the final week of the season is going to be your knockout. We want it to be like that. We like for it to be like that. And I think that we're setting ourselves up for it, especially if we get the better team with the win this week. And it's really going to make the last week a whole lot of fun to watch some of those games. And then finally, like I mentioned, we had Dark Knight sitting at 6-6. He's going up against Action J. Action J is 4-8. At the end of the day, it's his playoff percentages are as low as you can get. There is a slight chance if everybody. I saw one scenario where I think a couple of teams can end up being 6-8, and that could be a way that he slides in with some tiebreakers. But I don't. Again, he's really more playing spoiler at this time than doing anything. And so real quick, so we'll get to these matchups. Oh, before we get to the matchups, one other thing I did want to point out. I took a look at Pick'em. The Pick'em is getting really, really tough right now. You have a lot of great games to choose from. The action is just it's tough. I mean, it's hard to predict some of these wins. Last night for a while there, I think every one of us picked the Cowboys to win, but I think up until the last 5 minutes of the game, it looked like the Seahawks were going to take it. And so the G-Men and Action J are sitting at the top, tied at 117 correct picks on the season. Wolf is number 2. He's made his way all the way up to number 2 with 116. King of the Gridiron is number 3 with 115. Dark Knight is up there number 4 with 114. And then you got SCL, who's not too far behind him at 112. So you got, 6 of us, but really the top 2 are tied. So that's more or less you're around about as the top 5 people who are sitting in Pick'em. You had a couple other teams. I think Swagner is hovering around 110 or 111, and someone else is hovering around 108. So still a whole lot more games to choose in that. I think we're still going to see some more people add to the top. Some of us probably drop off, but it's going to be a great finish to the Pick'em as well. So just wanted to put that in there. All right, so let's get to these matchups. So the matchups, the first one I got up there right now is Huckleberry versus King of the Gridiron. King of the Gridiron already has 112. So we know Huckleberry, he's, once Kirk Cousins went down, it was going to be tough for him to make this season worthwhile. And he's having to roll out Will Levis. He's got James Conner coming back, Raheem Mostert. He's got Terry McLaurin, who hasn't been anything. Kevontae Turpin had 2 points from last night. It's a rough team. The only thing looking good on there is the tight ends. You got Taysom Hill. You got Kyle Pitts. The Bengals defense. I just don't see this team being able to tangle with I call them the Cowboys. Might as well. King of the Gridiron. He's got them all on his team, but he's already at 112 points. Good game from Dak. Big game from Jake Ferguson. So I think we'll see King of the Gridiron get that win, number 11, continue to solidify things and lock in on that number 1 seed. I do want to jump to the Dogs 7-5 and the better team that's at 6-6. So this game probably has the biggest implication. I think it's one of the few games where you have both teams that are somewhat winning records, both teams at least 500 or better. Playoff implications on it because the better team is, one of the highest scoring teams. He's right outside of the playoffs, And you look at their matchups, you got Derek Carr versus Jordan Love. I'd say if you look at this a couple of weeks ago, you say it might be a wash and you're really looking at 2 bottom-feeding quarterbacks. Derek Carr, to me, is still somewhat of a bottom-feeding quarterback. Jordan Love has been one of the better quarterbacks playing, and talk about a great pickup. Better team has worked the waiver wire like crazy this year. We saw him do spot starts with Foreman, who had a big game the first week he played him. There was a tight end that he threw in one week who had a great game. So Better team continues to work the waivers. So he's got Jordan Love, he's got Breece Hall, he's got David Montgomery. Running backs, we know they're going to do their thing. Then you look at Greg Dortch. That's another waiver wire that he picked up this week. And Dortch has been out targeting, was it Rondale Moore, who we thought might have been the true number 2, but Dortch on the outside. Kyler Murray continues to make those big plays. We'll see how that works against the Steelers this week, but Dortch could be one of those plays that ends up with 80 yards on 8 catches and a touchdown. Christian Kirk, same kind of guy, boom or bust sometimes. I think he's been more bust recently, but he'll still have a formidable game, especially going up against the Cincinnati Bengals defense. I don't think they can stop much. Kittle and Chig Okonkwo. So we know Kittle can do his thing. He's had some up and down games, but we also know that ceiling is just outrageous. And then the Titans going up against the Colts. Me personally, I hope the Titans don't do much against the Colts. They didn't do anything the last time. So it's going to be a tight game from you look at it from that standpoint. We got the Cardinals that Fire Dogs has going to be in Pittsburgh. They could be had Tyler Conklin and Evan Ingram. I think the tight end battle is probably fairly equal when you think about it. But Brandon Ayuk, A.J. Brown, those are 2 awesome receivers to have. And you look at MVS, not too worried about him. And Dameon Pierce looks like the second running back. I think he's more the backup in Houston now. So hard game to pick, but I feel like there's a little bit more juice on the other side with the better team. So I'm picking the better team to take that win and put themselves in the playoffs, because once that happens, you have both teams at 7-6. And that would then put the better team as a 3-2 record in division. And Dogs would then have a 2-3 record in the division. So therefore, you put better team right there in that 7 seed. So good luck this week, but I think I'm taking better team to get that win and to put himself in the playoffs with that game, with that win too. I will say if the loss, and there's a couple of other things that would happen, Dogs at 7-6, that doesn't necessarily take him out of the playoffs. It may just drop him down to number 8. The other game wanted to go back to, so back up to the top. So that's the number 17 Dogs currently, and versus the better team. Going back up to the top, we have Wolf versus Laugh Now. Again, we talked about that game. We talked about the Wolf stats. We talked about everything with Laugh Now. Laugh Now is a current champion. He's going to defend that thing. He's not going to let it go easy. He's going to play spoiler down the road. Me and all the division guys, we still got to look out for him and watch out for him. So taking this game serious. No game's a pushover. There's no bye weeks in this league. So Laugh Now. He's got a great lineup in right now. Lockett didn't do a whole lot, but there's still other guys that come in. Jared Goff could score 70 this week, and the Buccaneers defense got the Carolina Panthers, so it's not going to be easy for the Wolves. So good luck, Wolf. You got a new lineup in there. You don't have Lamar. You don't have the Ravens defense. You got some guys playing. Hopefully they practice hard and they're ready to play against Laugh Now, a champion through and through. So good luck, Wolf. Next up, we got Baker King at 7-5 versus Swagner at 3-9. Again, this is one of those games. You got a 7-5 team, but a little bit different 3-9. CJ Stroud, Austin Eckler, Jaylen Warren, Cortland Sutton, Christian Watson, Dallas Goedert looks like he's coming back, Adam Troutman, the Broncos D versus Houston. Going to be a little bit different. He got his quarterback going up against his defense. So that's going to be one of those. He's going to be not biting his nails watching that game. So on the flip side, the Baker King's got Justin Herbert. He's got Jerome Ford. Tony Pollard had a great game last night. Deontay Johnson. CeeDee Lamb had another great game. Jaden Reed. 49ers got the Eagles. This is not going to be an easy game, but I'm thinking that Justin Herbert can have his way with the Patriots finally. I'm thinking that this is one of those, maybe I wouldn't call it a get-right game or anything like that, but I just think Justin Herbert can put up enough juice to top or to match C.J. Stroud. And with the other guys of what they've already done, I think that's enough to get Baker King the win. He gets 8 wins. Swagner gets his 10th loss in the season. Next up, we got STL, who's 7-5 versus the 4-8 GOAT. 4-8 GOAT, he's playing spoiler. There's really no route for him to get to the playoffs. We'd have to open up a 9th seed, I think, in order for him to get there, and we just won't do that. But to start things off, he's in a great spot to have a big upset because he's got 48 points from DK Metcalf, who I think once the first pass was out there, that 73-yard pass, I think he got half his points on one play alone and then didn't stop scoring for the rest of the game. So great job, Goat, on the start that you already have. You got Trevor Lawrence over Gardner Minshew. I'm going to probably take Devon Achane and Christian McCaffrey over Najee Harris and Alvin Kamara. He does have Ramondre Stevenson as another running back going. Ja'Marr Chase, I'm not going to expect a whole lot out of him. But you got Brandon Cooks, who only had 16 last night. Tyreek Hill can actually match what DK Metcalf. So even though it's a big game, Tyreek Hill is playing against the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders are the worst defense. I think their secondary, they give up something like 300 yards a game, and there's a couple of the guys who the catch rate on them is one of the highest. So look for Tyreek Hill to probably match with DK, and at the end of the day, they won't matter. So I know STL is a little bit worried. At the end of the day, I think STL is going to have enough juice to get to win number 8, hold on to the division lead, and stay at that number, 4 seed with a chance to move up to number 5 or chance to move up to number 3. So I'm taking STL, even though the GOAT is off to a great start, taking STL over GOAT. Next up, we got G-Man, who's in the 5th seed versus Bulldogs. So let me find them real quick. The G-Man already has 25 points from Zach Charbonnet, and that's even with Charbonnet missing a little bit of the game at the end. He's going to go up against Brian Robinson and Rachaad White. He's also Isaiah Pacheco is going to be against the Green Bay Packers. That's a great matchup. We saw what David Montgomery did to him on Thanksgiving. So I think Isaiah Pacheco can have a similar game. Nico Collins is back. Puka Nacua. If Cooper Kupp wasn't playing, I'd say Puka Nacua was a great match, but I'm going to take probably Devontae Smith in that one. Calvin Ridley is came back alive, but also Jalen Waddle. At the end of the day, like, Bulldogs is not a pushover. This is where things started to get kind of dicey. You got Kyle Granson versus Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee had, 2 catches and 2 touchdowns last week. He could do that again against these Cleveland Browns. I think they might be without Myles Garrett. Without Myles Garrett, it opens up things, gives the quarterback a little bit more time, and in the red zone, they're going to look for Higbee. You got the Chargers versus the Patriots. I don't know how I'm going to really look at the Patriots defense with them. They're hit or miss. But, man, the G-Man has got the Panthers versus the Buccaneers. So it's going to be tough sledding for the G-Man this week going up against him. I will say Jalen Hurts is better and should have a better game than Brock Purdy. But they're going up against each other, too. That could be a defensive matchup. You're talking about in real life fantasy, the AFC Championship, or I think that's how that could be set up as a championship game. So this was a hard one to pick. It's a hard one to pick, but right now the system actually has Bulldogs favored to win it. So I think I'm gonna lean with the system. I'm gonna take Bulldogs to get a win in here and keep hope alive for playoffs, because if he gets to 7-7, he's gonna mess with some of these guys like Dogs, especially given where he might be for his playoffs. So I'm taking Bulldogs with the upset. He'll be at 6-7. G-Man will be at 8-5. Robbed at 7-5 versus Infantry Warrior, who's 5-7. Warrior's another one of these teams who needs to win, can't lose, has a good team. Infantry Warrior is one of those teams who needs to win, is 5-7, but Robbed is one of those teams that's 7-5. He started off hot, but taking some blows, and he's having to roll with Jake Browning. He just doesn't have a great quarterback. I think he won last week, but I'll have to go back and check. Maybe I got that wrong, but Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders, this is not a pretty running back bunch versus Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon and Javonte Williams. I'm taking that. I'm taking Tua, Marquise Brown, and Michael Pittman. I'm probably going to take D-Hop and Adam Thielen slightly over them. I do like the Travis Kelce and Laporta matchup versus Dalton Schultz. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, Dalton Schultz is going to be out this week. So, yeah, Dalton Schultz is officially ruled out. So, good luck finding a tight end. It looks like he's got Gerald Everett on his bench, but that ain't going to be any matchup over there. So, and you got the Dolphins versus the Commanders on defense, and the Saints versus the Lions. I'm taking Rob to put him out of his misery. It's not going to be easy. It's the defense. I'm going to say that the Dolphins defense get enough picks, probably get a pick 6 on Sam Howell, because he can do that too. And I don't see them being able to being in a position to have to run the ball. So he's going to get the points for them not being able to run because of where the points are going to go. So I'm gonna take Rob surprisingly to ups to it's almost an upset when you got Jake Browning in your lineup. But yeah, I'm gonna take him to win. So Rob gets to 8-5. He may sneak in to get into that fifth seed. I have to look at some tiebreakers and stuff like that. We've already talked about dogs and the better team. So finally, that leaves us with the Dark Knight, who is 6-6 versus Action J. And so Action J, he is really just going to be playing spoiler because there's no route for him really to well, I take it back. There's a bunch of little tiebreakers and stuff like that, but Dark Knight already has 24 points, and those all came from the Seahawks defense, and it came from his kicker. Let's look at what Action J has, because he's got Kyler Murray versus Mahomes, probably Mahomes, Royce Freeman, he's a backup, versus Tyler Algier, Devin Singletary, Tank Dell, Romeo Dobbs. I like the receivers that Action J has versus those over on the other side. Pat Freiermuth is finally in his starting lineup, who should continue to feast. They play the Cardinals. The Colts defense should have a little bit better day than what the Seahawks did. Action J's got a chance. The receivers, the quarterback isn't going to be too much behind Patrick Mahomes, and the defense should do well. So we're going to take Action J to get a win here. Action J's got enough to get a win here. Mahomes, Freiermuth, Deebo Samuel, Devin Singletary. But Devin Singletary is playing the Broncos. All right, I'm taking Action J. Taking Action J to get the win. 5-8. He's going to need somebody to lose. He's going to be 5-8, 6-8 is the best he can finish. We'll have to get one of these other teams get 8 losses. So that last game of the season is really going to do some things for some people. But Action J, there's a route, there's a path, but you need some help. And Dark Knight losing is the way you can get that help. So good luck, Dark Knight. You'd be 6-7. I don't know what losing streak that would have you on, but that would put you in a position to be a must-win final week of the season. And also you need some other people to lose, because 7-7 might not be enough this year. So that's all I got, guys. That's it. So I'll run back through them again, or maybe I won't. So I took King of the Gridiron over Huckleberry, Wolf, Laugh Now, can't make a pick in that game due to my affiliation with the Wolf organization. I'm taking Baker over Swagner, taking STL to make a comeback on GOAT. I'm taking Bulldogs over G-Men, Robbed over Warrior, Better Team over Dogs, and Action J over Dark Knight. So enjoy the game. Look forward to seeing those outcomes and talking about how the playoff matchups will end up being, because after this week, we'll have a much clearer picture and going into the final week of the regular season. So it'll be fun. Later, guys.